Everybody knows about Mount Everest. It is the highest peak in the world, and a lot of people aspire to climb it. How did this whole dream come around in you?
I was always in awe of mountains and the snow-capped mountains. And these are all dreams that you have coming from the south. These kind of things, it starts triggering you. I need to do this now, no matter what. It was so scary. The moment you cross that bridge, you stop, you take the breath. Will I be able to complete this? Will I be able to actually come back in the same rigor? I was so obsessed, I didn't want anybody to tell me that you can't.
Hi, I'm your host, Reena Suri, and welcome to Thriving Changes. It's a space for real conversations with phenomenal people who've navigated leadership challenges, crisis, change, or some of life's pivotal transitions. Through stories, we explore the moments that challenged them, stretched them, and ultimately became the very catalyst that supported them in growth. Our desire is to inspire you to take your first step towards thriving changes.
Hi, Sunitha.
Hi, Reena. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Welcome to Thriving Changes. It is such a pleasure to have you on this show. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. Equally excited. First time on a podcast. All the more exciting for me.
Yeah, when you guys came this summer and I was reflecting like 30 years of friendship. And then this podcast conversation happened. And I said, well, that's a good way to celebrate our 30 years of friendship.
No, I know. And I couldn't even believe it's already 30 years.
No, it sounds like yesterday, right?
Correct. We've been through quite a bit of challenges those days. So,
I know that we've done some life together. That's for sure. Lovely memories. In all these years, I never thought that I would be having a conversation with you on Mount Everest.
I have to agree. Nor did I think to, right? Life just happens sometimes. So,
Yes, 30 years now I've known you. We've done a lot of things together, but I never knew you as a hiking person. I did see your Facebook updates. All right, she's on Mount Everest Base Camp. I said, whoa, that is big. So I'm really excited about this. So, how we do this is if you could just introduce yourself, who you are, give a little background so that our listeners know a little bit about you.
yeah, sure. I'm Sunitha Ramanathan, and for most part of my career, it's been in education, and I've been taking care of children and development of curriculum. Most of them say getting into a teaching field, you've got to be teaching all the time. I've been lucky, so I've been teaching various subjects also. Been given the opportunity to do a lot more things in a school, and my focus has become more of administration now rather than per se teaching. Though now my latest thing curriculum is financial literacy for senior children. That is something that I love passionately, and I've started teaching the senior grades, especially. So that is basically what my career is. And as a person, I love to explore. There is always a side of me which is a little bit of adventure freak. So I do certain things keeps me alive, I would say. Every few years, I have to do something or the other. It just springs up and I have to do after that. So there have been few things that I've done over the course of years. I've done girls backpacking to Europe. I've done skydiving. I've done paragliding. Every few years, there is something that triggers in me that, I got to explore. And that's how certain things evolved for me.
Evolved.
That's it. Yeah. So,
In this podcast, I'll focus on Mount Everest. I guess everybody knows about Mount Everest. It is the highest peak in the world, and a lot of people aspire to climb it. And it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's in the Himalayan range in Nepal. How did this whole dream come around in you? I mean, you didn't do the full mountaineering, so you did the base camp, which is still considered a hike rather than mountaineering. But I believe it's still quite a strenuous climb. It's a very difficult terrain to hike on. very rough and uneven, and it requires a certain level of physical fitness, strength, stamina. I can't just think about it and take off one day that, okay, this is something I'm doing. You need to prepare for it. So, how did this idea take birth in your mind?
As I said, I am the kind who have certain bucket lists, and this has been as part of my bucket list for a long time, though I never openly said it because as life goes on, these are all put at the back of your head and you don't focus on this part. Few years ago, menopause hit me, and usual, you gain weight and it hits you within a month, completely bloated and everything. And I got on a fitness journey. And when I got on the fitness journey, there have been certain dreams of a simple Himalayan trek. It's always been at the back of my mind. Everest base camp didn't even come at that point of time. So it was just a Himalayan trek, start exploring, getting on a fitness journey. Along with that, let me push myself for a trek. And when I explored, there was a requirement for a cardio of 10 kilometers to be done within 1.5 hours, right? So that's almost 6.2 miles that you would have to complete in 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. And my fitness at that point of time was zero. So I started the whole process wherein I was just walking, then running, and then I would keep myself a certain target and I would start achieving. As I started achieving, I said, okay, the 10-kilometer story was within my reach. Then I said, okay, so I can do a Himalayan trek. Why not Everest base camp? And I shooted for the star directly, right? So I said, what is the requirement for me to do that? Is what I started focusing on. So certain things in our life triggers certain aspect, I guess. And that's how my menopause started triggering me to start doing some things. So there was a fear factor in me that if I reach a certain age, would I be able to achieve some things? So it's better to do it at least at this
Like at this stage, when you're still at the stamina and the physical fitness levels.
level. Yeah. Being from India, I think another challenge was because you're in South India, you don't have any mountains here. You have hills. So the Himalayan range of mountains is
Yeah.
huge, right? I was always in awe of mountains and the snow-capped mountains. And these are all dreams that you have coming from the South. So these kind of things, it starts triggering you. I need to do this now, no matter what. So that's how this whole thing came up.
I just want to dig a little bit into the menopause. A woman goes through so many changes at that age. I think it's probably one of the most challenging stages in a woman's life.
I would
I
agree.
think, right? I've gone through it, and whatever that I can remember of puberty or young adult or even childbirth, even though childbirth is still, as pain levels are much higher that you bear, but it's only for a limited period of time, right? Menopause, you don't experience that level of pain, but the symptoms are very confusing.
I guess so, because even few years back, I would talk to people even. Yeah. So the challenge was women were not open to discussing about menopause. While I was openly talking and asking questions, it was never an in-depth conversation that anybody would hold on because it's like you brush it aside. For me, it was like havoc. For me, at least my body was going through havoc. I was also under certain misconception at that point of time because I had my uterus removed. So I never thought I would go through menopause. My mom, same thing. And she said, I never had any symptoms. It came and went. I wondered why. I have the uterus removed. But yeah, I realized my fellow
Ovaries are still,
ovaries were there. So my estrogen was still going on.
most women do, at least whoever I've spoken with. And it's not a short period of time. This goes on for years. It's like from pre-menopause to post-menopause, it can be anywhere, at least a good 10 years, easily, right?
Right. So when you said about childbirth, we've gone through a lot more. As
More.
women, we go through a lot more. But I guess those are all short-lived. Or you finish and it's over. Or period pains, it comes for the few days and it's gone and you move on with life. But when this particular stage hits, and this Thing is, it differs for everybody. The symptoms are very different. I would love women to start doing a little more research on this, read upon this, and deal with it accordingly.
Exactly. If I can understand it, if I know what is happening with me, I am better prepared. In the beginning, it was so confusing because I didn't know what was happening to me. That am I over exaggerating things? Women sometimes can minimize our own.
Physical challenges, we kind of put it at the back burner. Something is going on in my body. I'm unable to pinpoint a lot of things. I know hot flashes are coming. I know night sweats are a part of the deal. But the moment you do your research and talking to your partner also helps, because night sweats is a thing, right? So whether you like it or not, you need the fan at full speed, you need the AC, the other person is probably shivering. You have to take certain steps, and that requires education for the other partner also, right? The next, I don't know, 6 months, year, I don't know.
My gynae told me that, I said, so now that I've hit menopause, do they stop? She smiled. Not really.
Exactly. And I would love, I am the kind of person to have a certain time frame for everything. I would also have loved to hear somebody say, okay, 2 years. So mentally, okay, 2 years, okay, I'll deal with it for 2 years. But the problem with this stage is there is no time frame.
No time frame. She said, we can say that even though you've stopped having periods, the symptoms might still continue. And for how long, we don't know.
It's been what? Almost 3 years, 2.5 years to 3 years since, and the symptoms have not gone off completely. There are still a whole bunch of
Or,
symptoms. I have more to live with it. So
if you had to just give a summary of what lifestyle changes you had to go through to deal with menopause, what were some highlights of that?
see, when you start menopause, when it comes, you don't really realize that it has actually hit you. And I'm yet to understand myself. The whole system is still an ongoing thing, right? It's never complete. My system experienced the weight gain. So how do you deal with weight gain? You are hardly eating as many calories. Scale just keeps going, and you've not changed your diet. But that was something that was the most difficult part. You learn to deal with your night sweats. Yes. You learn to deal with hot flashes. All these pains, aches, whatever comes, you learn to deal with those, which is still short lived. Weight gain is something that hits you. So, how do you deal with that becomes a lot more challenging. I think I was late in the game, but if people start early, then they know exactly how to deal with that. I am a big fan of yoga. I used to do yoga. It helps for sure, but I realized my weight gain, I needed to get into strength training. That was the only way it was helping me. So people who love yoga believe in yoga, but for me, that was more cardio with a little bit of flexibility. But unless and until you did that research on muscles, and that was a game changer for me. That really helped. It took a while. I didn't get into it full force. I went very slow with my actual training and other things. But after 2 years, I'm a lot more comfortable now doing weights and other things. I was always under the assumption weights are not for me because I did do it about 15 years ago. I went and joined a gym and he did push me, and I actually saw muscles on my hand and I freaked out. I stopped going to the gym because my muscles were showing. But now I'm actually wanting to get that muscle at a much later stage in life. And it's all the more harder now. If only we had done it earlier, it actually.
But it's never too late to start. There's a lot of research that supports the theory that you're saying. Strength training is one of the best ways to prevent weight gain and to improve muscle mass.
Right in my early 40s, I'm an educator, and the school where I used to work earlier, we had about 4 floors. I would climb those 4 floors at least a minimum of 5, 6 times. Classes are in different levels, and you keep kind of going up and down. I started experiencing a lot of knee pain. This is early 40s. I went to the doctor and they said, you have knee problems. You'll have to go for knee replacement when you're 50. Your knees are slowly giving away. It's unfortunate that I had to listen to that part, but it kind of awakened in me like, what is going on? Now I do more steps than what I did in the early 40s. The strength that I have in my legs are a lot better. Nobody can now tell me that I need a knee replacement surgery because I know the strength that I have in my calves and my legs. It takes a while.
That's what they told me. I also had that deep pain and I went and saw a doctor, but she guided me. She said, Trina, build the muscles around the knee. That's the best way to protect them. And it's been a while and I've been doing that and so much better.
So it is all to do with how you've not done anything to your lower body. Walking is an exercise, but that's not enough to strengthen it. If you don't do your certain exercises, simple strength training, it's not like everything has to do with weights. I realized that much later. But
Even you can just use your body.
yeah. For the most part, I use my body weight. Right now, I have progressed. People with just their body weight, if they do certain exercises, it's a game changer. It's really a game changer.
And that must have really supported you with the Mount Everest climb also.
See, what happened with an Everest base campus, you can't go without preparation. Physical aspect is one part of it, stamina, endurance, because it's not like people just do a 1 day trek and come back. These are mountains and the Himalayan range mountains, which are huge. So the requirement here is about 16-day trek. So it's 16 days of walking non-stop. And you're not walking 1 hour. You're walking 6 hours to 8 hours, depending on the day. There are days when I did 10 hours of walking.
Wow.
And it's continuous walk, right? So you get a half an hour break for lunch, you get a 10-minute break for your tea. Otherwise, you're walking constantly. So that requires a certain endurance for which the lower part is core and your lower part has to be strength. So people who do treks all the time, it's easy for them. Since I hadn't done too many and I hadn't done a mountain trek, it was challenging for me, for sure. Therein again, climbing these mountains are there's no step. When I say steps, climbing. So when you're climbing, it's like 15, 18 inches. So with the trekking pole, you have to exert more in order to be climbing those steps. If you have longer legs, good, but I as not that tall a person, it's all the more struggle. So that level preparedness was not there in me. Physical, you can be ready to some extent, but how altitude is going to hit you at that point of time, how our energy levels are, because it's an endurance game, you have to wake up in the morning and be ready to go. But if you manage 8 days, then ninth day onwards, automatically your body is also getting used to it. That's the beauty of a body. So it just gets used to it. It automatically it starts to help you. Everest Base Camp is another level on.
What kind of physical preparation did you have to do before? You went with the company?
Correct. It was with the company. The discussion was there'll be about 10 people, but ultimately there wasn't anybody. So I did a solo trek with the guide. My Indian counterpart was also there. He came along with me. This requires definitely a lot of fitness. One was cardio for sure. It's good to have a benchmark of trying to do a 10 kilometer in 1.5 hours and achieve it over a period of time. I was at zero level fitness when I started the journey.
Yeah.
I worked on it for almost 9 months before I actually left for the trek. Second day is one of the most difficult days, second day itself. But after that, your body and legs get used to it. So I did do a lot of research. I knew legs and calves were going to take a big hit. So I did focus more on that. I did have a trainer for that. And he did help me because my knees were in no great shape at that point of time. I could not walk, forget running. So cardio was one part, but the strength training of my squats and my calves, he was taking care of those things. 3 days I would in a week, and 2 days I would run, and 1 day was actual rest day for me, and another day of at least walk. That's my schedule for 6 days. You can slowly build upon it. I've taken a journal for myself. So I would record every run of mine and how did I feel about it? How much did I achieve? Everything was a record. So it gave me the motivation. So the entire 9 months of journal actually helped. Small sentences, but it motivates you to push yourself a little more.
So when you say you build up your stamina, at what level did you start? When you started your journey, you were running for how many kilometers?
If I talk now, it's very shocking, zero level of fitness. So when I did my first kilometer on the treadmill, just walk, right? I had to pause and I had to sip, I had to sit down, and that was my level of fitness. So I just walk. Walking regularly is different from walking on a treadmill at a certain speed. So I did push the speed of the treadmill. So when I did a 1 kilometer, I had to actually sit down, take few minutes breath. And that's how my journey started. So I recorded myself that I managed to do 5 kilometer, which was like a big deal for me. And I think the first 5 kilometers, I did it about 45 minutes because of breaks. Then I realized this is not going to work. I started pushing myself. I said, I'm not giving up. But I didn't know how to stretch. Simple things, right? I thought ordinary stretches after a running will do. Then I had to learn the right stretches. Then it slowly I started doing 1 kilometer of run. It took me almost 2 to 3 weeks to get to the first kilometer run. Then from first kilometer, I managed to do 3 kilometer run. But that first 3 kilometers, every kilometer I would pause, I would sit. Then after the 3 kilometers, my stamina, it slowly built. You start journaling it. You're like, I did 3 kilometers now. Let me see if I can push myself for a 4 kilometer today. Then it became 5 kilometers. So I would do comfortably after about 6 months. The last 3 months were comfortable for me where I was doing 10 kilometers without much sleep. But 6 months, I didn't want to push too hard because I was scared of injuries and other things that people would talk about. I did take it slow. I did push my body slowly, but I built in 6 months. Maybe people do it in 2 months. I didn't want to do it at that age because my goal was very different. I needed to reach Everest base camp and I didn't want any injury which will set me back a few more months.
Very smart move. That's how it should be done. As far as neuroplasticity is concerned, if that's what it is all about, that your brain has the capacity, your body has the capacity to change and adapt throughout life, but it needs to be done in small increments and not just jump for the extreme.
Correct.
And if you want to sustain yourself over a period of time, it is better to do it in small increments. Listen to your body and do accordingly.
All days are also good. And sleep, these are few learnings that came through me. You kind of observe your own body and you realize if you had a late night on Saturday night, the next day your run is not going to be right. I had to curtail myself. Those are small sacrifices you have to do in order to reach your goal. So I can stop going out for late nights. Lunches are okay. Sunday lunch is okay. But Saturday night, I was very particular. I had to get my sleep. So those things you learn on the go. Now there's enough people talking about it. But when I started again, I didn't do enough research. But it's more so with your own body that the learning is better than somebody else telling you this is the way to do. Somehow I felt my own way of doing definitely be different for somebody else. That was such a big learning. I realized I had to figure out myself what worked and what didn't. It took me 6 months to understand nutrition. Again, that was a journey by itself. I had to do trial and error to understand what worked for me, what did not work for me. It's so sad when people generalize it, like get on this diet. For me, it didn't work.
You need to personalize it.
Yeah,
For me, it didn't work.
correct. I'm very particular even now that I need my 3 meals. I cannot skip meals. So, certain changes. I think Vijay was just getting on his journey of diet and all that. So it was easier to, at home, how many different kinds of food also do you make, right? It becomes challenging when you're working. So I started reading about it to understand. Then being a vegetarian, protein, all that was new. The Indian food is so carb rich. So that I had to change. I had to bring in a lot more vegetables. Fiber was a big change in my life.
You brought up that point, like your husband is doing another diet or preferences in his meal, and you have another preference. But the thing is also that men react differently to certain food than women. Or I mean, it's all the hormone game where hormones are designed for muscle and we don't have that.
Tell me about it. So the challenges are huge. And the worst is in your 20s and 30s, at least for me again, I just didn't have cravings of sweets. I never had this cravings. But 40s and late 40s, unnecessary cravings are coming in. So small changes here and there, it calms your system down. So the sugar is a bigger aspect that I still struggle with.
I struggle with that too. So coming back to focusing on the Everest, there is acclimatization as you go up higher. Otherwise, you start feeling sick. But other than that, what's the mental game like? You don't need to have a certain mindset around it, right?
Yeah. So when you look at a challenge, and I personally felt if you're not obsessed with that whole idea of doing something, it cannot manifest itself into what you are going to actually achieve it. It's okay to have a dream about going to Everest Base Camp and you're working on a physical level and physically ready. But I realized mentally, I was so obsessed with it. I would read and watch so many videos. I would have seen the same video 4 times probably. People, their experiences of how they've climbed. I knew every route up because different people shoot different parts of Everest Base Camp. So I knew the layout, how it's going to be. It's different when you're experiencing it. That's completely more challenge. And I love doing research about some things. Mentally, you have to be ready to go there. Mentally being ready would be like you know what you're getting yourself in. It's not going to be an easy trek because climbing the Himalayan range mountains is a challenge by itself. Some who have done mountain treks might find it definitely easier. The terrain is very different. So you go from rocky places to scary places too. So there are places where you have to be very, very careful. Because of acclimatization, don't take anything lightly there. At least for me, I was alone. It's a solo traveling. First time in my life, I am doing a big challenge all by myself and not too many people to share with. But that kind of brought in other things for me because I just enjoyed it. I just loved going on the solo trip because there were so many solo people coming and you could actually interact the evenings with people and you're exchanging and it's a beautiful camaraderie that you get in. And the environment in these tea houses that we stay in is beautiful. So mentally don't take this as lightly. And then on days when it's really tiring and you don't want to do it the next day, you have to push yourself. Unless you push, it's not good. You have to be conscious when you say push yourself, don't go to the level of hypoxia and other things that happen there. You've got to be careful of that. Mindfulness of how you do it is very, very important. Everybody will learn to face it. And people around you are so positive. So that's another thing. In the evening when you come, they're talking about their countries. It's so positive where you're looking at the different calibers of people who are coming. And I look at myself and if they can do it, why not? I realized a lot of people can't take out 16 days time from their work to do it. So youngsters are limited unless you're in your 20s. For the most part, people were all above 60 from other countries and they were so fit. Indians, it was a challenge. But other countries, people who were coming all about 60s, and so many of them have gotten into mountaineering at after 50. So it's inspiring.
It's so interesting what you're talking about. I really want to dig into that obsession bit.
It's just the mindset. If you really want to do it, you will end up doing it. This is
But you're
something different. But I'm sure everybody in their life always has something that they want to do. And unless you're obsessed and you say, this is something
yeah.
you want to achieve, if you work towards it, you're going to get it no matter what. Your hard work will pay ultimately.
Nothing comes easy. Sunita, it takes time. Anything which is goal oriented, it might take a while. You have to prepare for it. Nothing comes easy in this world.
Right.
Uh,
That is something that we have to keep as an educator. Certain things you have to learn the hard way in life.
That obsession sustains you during those hard times. That kept you going. If you don't have that obsession, it's very easy to lose that vision and the motivation.
If you find our content valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. And spread the word. The best compliment is being referred. That one action of yours can help us reach more and more people and fulfill the mission of Thriving Changes. The only reason I started this podcast was to increase awareness of all the topics that we discuss on this platform and support those who need it the most. With your help, we can continue making content that adds value to you and to others. If our mission resonates with you, then I invite you to join me. We are stronger together.
Correct. For me, menopause was a trigger. That obsession came about that I wanted to do something in order to prove to myself that this is not going to affect me.
Sunita, what I'm hearing from the very beginning of our conversation, I've known you for much longer than this conversation. I'm only hearing a very positive mindset that you're always looking at the good. You talk about hardships, struggles, but then you flip it instantly to all the good. Like, for instance, you're talking that every day to be challenging. It was a difficult climb. But then we would meet these other people in the evenings and it was so motivating. You don't keep your focus on the hardships for very long. You'll instantly move over to something positive.
That's it. Again, it's an experience of a life, right? The Everest base camp, its hardship is nothing, especially when you see other people. Simple, small instances I'll quote. It's freezing temperature the second day. And I come from a place where it's always 40 degrees, 30 degrees centigrade. So what happened was I reached about minus 6 degrees centigrade, about minus 8 degrees centigrade on the second. So just to give you a context, these places, as you keep going up, plumbing is a challenge because the pipes cannot hold because it's frozen water everywhere that you go as you climb. Getting water is a big deal. Water is very expensive in these treks. Tap water on the second day is like a big deal. So you have common toilets as depending on the budget that you travel. I had a common toilet and a wash basin, which was right outside the room. So for me to move from the bedroom to the wash basin to brush my teeth was a big deal. I was layered in clothes with gloves and I was figuring out how to brush without my gloves. The water is literally frozen there. So you take your own water and you use that water which you kept it in your sleeping bag and you warmed your body with that water and then you take that water to brush your teeth. Now I have another woman walk in. She was from Netherlands. We had a quick chat in that 5-minute conversation. And she walks in and she's in shorts. And she was doing this trek for the third time. And I'm like, aren't you cold? And she's like, no, absolutely not. We're used to much colder weather there. So it's okay. Just for a few minutes, I can be in my shorts. How perspectives change. These are small little instances where you learn from so many people. If you're open to learning, this place is just amazing. So physical is just one aspect of it. So there's so much around you. Again, bless my stars that I did a solo trip. I don't know how my experience would have been in a group because then I feel I might have been stuck with the group and conversing with the group because I didn't have anybody else. Others were just coming and we were just sitting with so many other people from around the world and so many experiences each one brings to the table. That was the beauty of the Everest Base Camp Tech.
You're open to listening to other people's perspective. It's that openness of your mind that you're ready to change, adapt. Was this something that became more evident during this trip?
I hope people are as open minded as possible because we live in a very closed environment. Unless you have these perspectives in life, then you don't have a story to tell. Being open to perspectives. I am an educator. If I'm not open to perspective, I cannot bring about changes. And an administrator, so I'm always looking for something new to learn, to bring to the table, even in work. So openness is part of me. I've never allowed anybody to close me down. Coming back to our Everest Base Camp, I think anybody who goes will change as a
Yes.
person. It's a completely new experience, and you listen and your body. There's so many things going on physically, mentally, and the environment is changing continuously because you're not meeting the same people every day. You're meeting so many different people. So even if it's an introvert, they learn to talk, they open up. There's so much that is happening.
You are somebody who's always lived in a hot climate or a fairly warm climate. That was a big jump. The terrain was a completely new terrain. You've lived on a very flat landscape, and those temperatures were a big issue. You can't take a shower here, limited water supply, acclimatization of the body. I believe people go through sickness. Did you experience that also?
Yeah. Yeah. Two parts to your question. So, as you said, there are different challenges. One is climate. Is amazing. The entire 16-day trek, people need not worry. You get awesome food everywhere. So, that is not an issue at all. Then it's a beauty there, right? So, every city you land in Lokla, and from there on, your 16-day trek starts, and it's up to you. 8 days to Everest Base Camp. And then the return journey is up to you, right? You can choose to come in 8 days. A lot of them do it in 6 days because the acclimatization day gets cut off. And I managed to do it. I cut off one more day. We managed to do about 10, 12-hour trek and we reached in 13 days. This is how most of the treks are. Now, from Lukla, the vibe is so different in these. It's a very small town. It's one street. That's it. But beauty of these places are you will have Irish pubs, you will have German bakeries, you will have burger joints in such places. At this height, how did you dream about all this? Physical fitness, yes, have different challenges on your way. You learn on your way. I would have to come and massage my leg every evening. I'm not saying it was all rosy. Every evening, I would spend half an hour just quick massage of my calves. But by the fourth, fifth day onwards, I didn't have to massage because automatically my legs got used to it. But today I did say the 10-hour trek, which was the longest and one of the most grueling days of the trek. That day I had blisters on my legs and my calves were completely gone. So things of that nature are part and parcel, right? You have to learn to deal. Acclimatization was fine until the day prior to me reaching Everest Base Camp. Up to 7 days, I was okay. By the seventh day, I think we had reached about 16,000 feet, close to 4,800 meters. That was the last stop. The last stop is the most grueling because they don't have even electricity. They're running on solar. There is no tap water from there on because it's frozen water. So even the Western toilet, which you have to use, you have a tub which has ice cold water, ice layered. So you have to break, take a mug, dunk in, and take your water to wash yourself. Wet wipes were part of the deal. But sadly, I started experiencing loose motions. That was one of the symptoms. I knew that my body was troubling me for acclimatization, and I was not ready to give up because the next day was Everest Base. And I knew it was a long day. So I popped in the lopamide and hoping that the next day won't trouble me because there is no more bathroom breaks. It's just terrain which is very rugged and a lot more rocky as you get closer to Everest Base Camp. There is no bathroom. And with those motions, what do you do? So instead of one tablet, I actually popped in two tablets and we are on Timox for acclimatization. So last 2 days, we are popping in a little more of Timox also, just to be on the safer side. So just for perspective, from the first day onwards, you have a lot more tea houses where we stay. Lot more options are available. But the day prior to Everest Base Camp, where we reach, that Gorak shape is a place, that place, you hardly have any more tea houses. So that many travelers are all coming at different times on that day. They will not block rooms. You have to go there and book your room. There aren't that many rooms. So people end up staying inside the dining area because that's all there is. So you gotta sleep wherever you can at that point of time. You're lucky if you get a room. So that was a bigger challenge that day where acclimatization in different tables were happening at different levels. So some would get knocked off, some was sleeping. So I had loose motion. Some were constantly checking their pulse and their oxygen levels. From the second, third day onwards, you'll notice some people struggling with acclimatization. My struggle, thankfully, was for that one night plus the next day.
Just to give a little perspective, so when we talk about the base camp, that's the first stop. So Everest has four camps till the peak. And so base camp is the first camp. And then there are three more over it. But then that's a different ball game altogether. That's mountaineering.
Everybody reaches Everest base. Those who want to climb Mount Everest also have to reach Everest. So we are trekkers. So we reach up to Everest base camp, meaning there is a rock, nothing fancy, just a rock, and you can't even see Mount Everest from Everest base camp. So you get to see Mount Everest through your journey for sure. From the third day onwards, I had a glimpse of Mount Everest, and that is awe inspiring. People who are into mountaineering, they are the only ones who are allowed near the base camp. So that's proper tents and everything. So we get a glimpse of where the tents are. We are not allowed anywhere near those places. So those are with permits.
So these are the tents for who are going beyond.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
what's special about that place? Why aren't others allowed there?
It's for the mountaineering group. So they have their own tents, and that is their start of acclimatization from that point on.
So they need their own space to.
If every traveler, every trekker starts going there, it becomes a challenge for them. Till Gorakshep, at least you had a structure like a tea house, but from the base camp, it's actual tents. So you're getting acclimatized to the cold, to the altitude, food, everything changes from there.
How do you keep yourself warm out there?
I had double layer socks. I had down jackets. You get those gloves which are thick. So that
Yeah.
doesn't require a second layer. But those are things that we used in the last 2 days, 3 days of the trek. Otherwise, regular gloves. Because when you're trekking, you're sweating.
Yeah.
Though you're layered up, you're still sweating. Outside temperature, we touched about minus 18 degrees, right? Towards the last few days are like minus 18. So you learn to live with cold. That's another struggle when you come from parts of India where you've never seen these temperatures. Some of them struggle with the cold weather. How much ever you layer up, your body is just not getting used to that
Used.
weather. So that was a certain challenge. But cold weather for me, I love cold weather compared to a hot weather. So I was okay. Layering up was not a big deal. I had about what, 4 to 5 layers? It was never enough. If you ask me, it was never enough. But you go with the flow. It's okay.
And then it's nothing like heated rooms and all, right?
They do provide you beds to sleep on, but recommended is sleeping bags, because sleeping bags is also, it's insulating you, so you get inside the sleeping bag, because all your gadgets, everything, battery will drain off in no time there. So all that is a challenge.
Electricity was not there only in the last leg of your journey, right? How did
So
you charge your phones?
most people carry power banks. Depending on the number of gadgets you have, you try to limit your gadgets. And wherever possible, you pay for charging your phones. During the day, you don't need the phone except for taking photos. So you're shutting off the phone. So you try to save as much. Keep it closer to your body. Your body want will help less drain the battery.
You didn't shower then beyond that point?
Second day, no, third day, I did take a shower. You have to pay money to shower. I was just not comfortable because it was freezing. So even
You
if you
can
have
shower in that cold water or do they provide hot water?
hot water, you will get a bucket of hot water with which you can shower. But by the time they bring that hot water for you and you've showered and dress up, it's a challenge. So I did shower once on the third day. After that, I said, no, I am okay not showering. I said, I'll go back to Nepal, Kathmandu, and I will shower. There are unfortunate people that I met, Indians, who came totally unprepared. It was like having shower every day was of priority. They were losing focus completely. They didn't come with trekking poles. They didn't have proper shoes. They were trekking in jeans. If you don't come prepared, then it's difficult.
Tell us a couple of your most awe-inspiring views of that place.
The beauty of this was every day the landscape will keep changing. So what happens is by the fourth day onwards, you've gone beyond the trees. the tree level. After that, it's different. So up to the first 4 days, you still have trees and the beauty of mountains all around you. By the fourth day onwards, if I'm right, I'm trying to recollect, but there was a place, the mountain called Amadablam. So beautiful mountain. It's perspectives, right? Mountains are so big and you're so tiny in front of them. And for me, seeing such big, big mountains was wow. That wow moment never stops every day. The terrains are so different. And the climb, this Amadablam, that whole mountain view coming, I was like, wow. So I said, I have to stop here. I just need to spend time watching. So some places you just stop. Like that was the Tenzing Hillary Bridge. I think it's one of the tallest bridges in the world, hanging bridge. It was so scary, this bridge, because you climb about for 1 hour to reach that bridge and then you cross over. So you're reaching the top of a mountain, cross over to another mountain. That was the only way to reach one mountain to another mountain. And Tenzing Hillary, I think, commissioned this bridge. Crossing that bridge was the scariest thing because from a mountain to another mountain, and with winds all across, you're swaying. So it's scary. My thing was like, just focus straight. Don't look down. Don't look down. And you can't touch the side to walk. You can't hold because these are all iron bridges. So they have those pointy things all over. So you have to poles, which I gave off to my guide because I said, I'll just focus on how to balance myself. Because if I have too many things on my hand, I didn't know how I was going to. We were crossing a lot of suspension bridges. By then, I was getting used to suspension bridges. But this one to cross was the biggest challenge ever. But the moment you cross that bridge, you stop, you take the breath. It's beautiful because, again, you get a range of mountain. And then within, say, about 40, 50 steps, you get a glimpse of Mount Everest. So then it is like, okay, it was worth it.
I am so scared of these suspension bridges. And when they shake, you're saying you can't hold anything on the side. There's no railing you can hold on to. How is it at the bottom where your feet are? Is that segmented or they
It's completely steel. So the place to walk is all nicely done,
nice done up?
not planks to walk on. So something that everybody should know is these suspension bridges are used not just by human beings, it's also used by zoos and yaks and horses. So the thing is, either you cross other mules and the yaks crosses, right? So you can't be halfway through and they come halfway. So usually you wait until they cross if you see them coming. Because the mode of transportation for food and everything is only
Yes.
through yaks and the horses. But the suspension bridge gets a little wobbly because of the number of people on the bridge. If there are people coming from opposite, it starts to walk. People who are used to it walk like it doesn't matter.
They've done it so many times, right?
Correct. You keep saying don't look down, but when you don't have anything to hold and you're trying to focus, it's impossible not to look down because you're figuring out your foot also on the way. It's beautiful down. The river is flowing in full fledged and all that is beautiful. Yeah, people are scared of heights, which I am. You tell yourself, the end goal is here. The end goal is here. Just go, just go, just go.
Wow. This is some expedition. We've obviously focused more on the challenges and the mindset, but is there something that you would really like to tell us, something that we are missing about the trek that would be interesting for us to know?
Again, I'll just quote you a small, simple anecdote. So, one of the places that we reached, this was on the sixth day of my camp, just before we reached Everest Base Camp. We stayed in a place called Dingboche. After Dingboche, it's flat terrain. And when it's flat terrain, it's like a cakewalk for anybody. Let's just walk. I was shell shocked. Not just me, around me, people. The oxygen level was so low. Though it was the flat terrain, the oxygen level was so low that I couldn't take more than steps at a time. So I would keep stopping. My guide, he knew that I was going through this. So we carry almost 8 to 10 kilos on ourselves, apart from our guide carrying 15 kilos. Because it's 15-day trek and there's a whole bunch of things that you carry. So He removed half the weight from mine and he dumped it on himself. And he said, okay, let's see. Are you able to walk with lesser load? Are you able to walk this particular part? That part was challenging. That 1.5 hours, which I could have probably covered in, say, a half an hour, it took me double, triple the time because I would pause every few steps. I had seen this in videos and I knew for some people it was eating, but it's surprising. I mean, around me, there were people from all over the world.
So they were all through the same.
Yeah, not all, but a lot of them were going through this. So that is when he's like pumping. He said, have your Snickers bar, drink water, and electrol. So that was one. But in that particular place, the prior night, group of us, again, solo travelers from all across. I still have that photo. We had literally people from every continent. So all of us had an acclimatization day. We went, climbed, and we come back. And that is one day which is a relaxing day because you're not doing too many hours. Just doing 3, 4 hours, you climb the peak and you come back. Some of them reach the summit, some of them half. Just to acclimatize, you're going up and then you're coming down. Because acclimatization day means you climb up higher, but you come back to a lower altitude to sleep at a lower altitude. So your body is getting used to next day going higher, higher, and higher. Doesn't work. Ideally, if you're there for a week, then your body would have been acclimatized, but you don't have the time. So you kind of just this. That evening was so beautiful because they brought in a billiards game. I still can't believe how they managed to bring a billiards table into a place where only yaks could come as a means of transportation for a water. We got to know later it was brought in parts by the helicopter and landed there.
They must have put it together there.
Yeah, we all decided we are all going to meet there at 4 o'clock when quick conversation here and there. So we had people from South America, we had people from Europe, Switzerland, name it, Australia. We all met there and we just played a game of billiards. Not that anybody knew perfectly, one or two knew. That was not the point. Where in the world would I ever dream of at that altitude with so many different nationalities to come and play a game of billiards?
Billiard.
That
Yeah.
was another big highlight for me in the entire camp. So that was an amazing experience. We took a photo, 8 nationalities of different countries coming together.
Good.
So
And it sounds like an experience of a lifetime. It's just sounding so amazing and so different from the regular trips that we do.
correct. I am a big believer. By end of the day, if you have some story to tell about your life, why not? That was the idea behind the whole thing.
How do you look back at it all? The whole trip.
Let me be honest. I was like, okay, I'm going to count my days as to when I'm going to finish the trek. Yeah, experiences are good, but I'm going to start counting the days for my return journey. Because if I have to climb this, I dread how am I going to climb up and down again. The same path is what you're going to be using. So it was very scary. I was like, okay, will I be able to complete this? Will I be able to actually come back in the same rigor with that same energy level? That's how I started. Where you know what is going to be thrown at you. But as the days went by, you have different experiences and all these kind of things come. The last day, uh, that day where I had to cross Namche Bazaar, that's the big deal. Namche Bazaar to Nukla. That was the second day that travel. So when I'm returning back, it didn't feel a big. The return journey didn't feel a big deal at all. Right? I had stopped counting my number of days by halfway through the journey. When I came the last bit that I had finished, you cross the Sagarmata point and you kind of reach that place. And I just lifted my entire thing. I said, take a photo. I have done it, right? I was texting people. Everybody were like, you've done it. Great job and all that. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next trek. Your body got so used to it by then. You are like, if I've done this now, my body can keep going on and on and on, right? So that was a beauty and revelation to me. When I came back to Kathmandu, if you analyze yourself and see what you've gone through the 16 days, it's a reflection basically. And you're like, okay, I actually managed and my body was ready to take up more if I pushed it, right? So 16 days, actually not a.
I guess it reinforces the fact that our bodies are designed to adapt and we can overcome challenges if we put our mind to it and we decide that, no, this is what we're doing and we prepare ourselves to do it and then strategically plan for that. So it just reinforces that fact that it's totally doable. And if one can do this, we can do a lot more.
Yeah, correct. Probably this podcast, people were going through menopause, whatever, right?
Yeah,
It's not the end of the world, right? It's that you can actually put your
true.
mind actually achieve it.
So, what is your next? Have you thought about
I'm planning to do the next circuit, that is the Annapurna base camp.
Annapurna base camp would be?
So Everest is more towards the east. This is more towards the west of Nepal. There's a whole bunch of mountains available in the Himalayan range. So this is another base camp that usually people do. And people usually do that before they do Everest. So I am doing the other way around.
Other, you will see another side of that range and the
Correct.
beauty.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Well, there was something that I was experiencing. I should have done and taken steps. So, sometime in February, again, I realized this part of menopause, which I got to know later on. I started experiencing a pain in my left shoulder. Now, the pain was there. I would work out. I told my trainer, I'm experiencing some pain. So, let's take easy, right? Because I have the trek in March end. I don't want to do anything major. But I chose to ignore it. As women, we have a tendency to bear more pain than what is actually needed, right? That is our natural instinct for us. So I said, okay, the pain will go off. Maybe I was doing something with the dumbbell and something happened, and that must be the reason. So I told him certain exercises, I will do it at a lesser rep than what I would usually. So he also, I mean, he will only go by what I say is pain, right? He doesn't know how much pain I'm actually going. But my pain was so bad that I could not take my hands back to put my backpack. And that kind of worried me because I was going to carry a backpack the entire
That too with weight.
10 kilos, right? What I did was, I didn't tell anybody at that point of time what level of these are stupid things that I did to myself, right? Because I was so obsessed, I didn't want anybody to tell me that you can't go. I was more scared that I would be stopped in my tracks and they would tell me after all this planning and paying this thing. I said, no, I'll manage. I can manage. All that I kept telling myself. So I would wear the bag. First, I would put my left shoulder and then I would take my right shoulder to put my backpack. I would never do the other way around because I could never take. But I hadn't done enough research about why this shoulder was pain, right? I didn't bother to check. And thankfully, my entire trek, I don't know, God was with me or what it was, or my adrenaline was so high that I didn't feel the pain the entire 16 days. So I kind of told myself then this must have been because I was doing one of the exercises which would have pulled my muscle or something happened and I left it. Come May, I finish my trek, I come back to Bangalore and in the month of May, slowly my pain started again. By June, it was terrible. And when I went and saw the doctor, I got to know I had a frozen shoulder, and he was like so upset. He said, this pain is so bad. So you must have been with this pain for how long? He asked me. I said, about 4 5 months by then. I said, he was shocked because people usually by the second month would have gone and got it treated. Like the fool, I didn't bother to. So that maybe I should have taken the precaution because he had to immediately address it with the steroid injection because it was inflamed major. Frozen shoulder is a very common thing among menopause women. So that I got to know much later. It's taken me almost a year now. I'm back to my normal list of weights and other things. I don't want to damage it more now. So I'll go easy. But should have occurred to me. I was so focused with the trek that I refused to look at anything which would damage the chance of me going. So that I would have probably changed my course a little. Maybe if I'd gone, he would have told me what I need to do and I could have taken the precaution.
And you never know. Thankfully, it didn't happen. But what if something would have happened there? There's no medical assistance.
You don't want to go through that.
Exactly. The whole conversation has been about learning. If we had to just summarize in one short paragraph, what would be your takeaways from this?
One, menopause is not the end of life, right? There is so much more that the body is willing to change for you, that you have to make the effort. The hard work is from our side for sure. That I feel that be open to learning, do your research, meaning read about, not the influencers by any chance. It's okay to go through people who are experts in it, and the mental framework is in your hands. You have to be willing to do something. Everything is you ultimately, right? So if you are ready to do some things, life is an oyster.
If you put your mind to it,
Yeah.
know that the day you decide that I'm doing that firm decision, this is not changing. This is like set in stone. I'm going to do this.
Actually, we have the mental toughness to take in a lot. You just have to tell yourself that you want it. If you tell yourself and you put your mind to it,
What would be that one piece of advice that you would like to give to somebody who's planning a trip or something similar challenge that they've never done before?
please take up challenges for sure, right? Push yourself as much as possible. Don't be stupid enough that you don't do your research. Taking up a challenge and just saying, okay, I'll do it, and then not giving that required time and energy will be wrong. It is okay for certain things to be spontaneous, but if you're taking up any major challenges in your life at a certain stage in your life, your body will not allow it. What you did in 20s as a spontaneous thing is okay, but that doesn't work when you're 50. If anybody is fit to a certain level, I think spontaneity may work for them. Again, I learned through the trek because it was unfortunate to see so many Indians totally.
I think for Indians, the biggest challenge, again, we touched on this briefly in the beginning of the conversation when you spoke about yoga. I like yoga and nothing against it at all, but it doesn't do anything for the muscle. It's great for flexibility. It's great for the breathing, improving your lung capacity, this posture, all that is great, but it doesn't help us with our muscle development at all.
Whenever I get an opportunity, I say strength training, right? I know a whole bunch of teachers who believe completely in yoga, that it's good. I am not denying that aspect. I still do.
Yes.
I wish more women would start doing it, right?
Yeah. So, but it's always good to work in the beginning with a trainer because we can injure ourselves also. A good trainer, because if you're working with an inefficient trainer, that can also end up in injuries, even if you're not lifting too much weight. This has been a long
conversation.
long conversation. And thank you for your time and such a lovely, inspiring conversation. I really enjoyed it.